On today's episode, we'll talk about teaching 200 Steadicam workshops, creating the Skyman, As Good as It Gets, American Me, and of course, having dinner with Johnny Cash. Just a little bit of business before we start. There may be a curse word here or there in this episode, so please listen responsibly. As always, our website, theop.io, is up and chock full of tips, tricks, and GUI operator goodness. Make sure to check out The Breakdown, where the best operators in the biz explain shots they have done, The Musings, where we discuss everything from quick tips to larger concepts of storytelling, the answers, the images, and so much more. I may or I may not take a break or two during this episode, but I promise that none of them will be longer than 22 seconds. Finally, if you are enjoying the podcast, please follow us, write a review, share us with your parents, and talk us up around the water cooler with your friends. So grab a beverage, sit back, and enjoy the op. Thanks for listening.
Lock it up, nice and quiet, and let's roll.
Rolling. Victor 30 Echo, take 2.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark.
And camera set. And action.
Hello and welcome back to the Op Podcast, the podcast where we talk about operating and the art of visual storytelling. I'm your host, Dave Comides, and I'm coming to you today from the resort Refugio Cheiro di Mato in Sao Paulo, Brazil, where I am presently here. We just finished up a 1-week Steadicam Gold workshop, which is a 5-day Steadicam course sponsored and produced by Bucharest Atelier de Cinema, or BAC, which is a film school here in Brazil. And I'm very excited. In the audience today are 16 amazing Steadicam operators because they've gone through the Steadicam class. So they've been doing this all week. They're a little tired, but they're very excited to be here. And just so you know, if you hear the parrots or the rain or someone translating Portuguese or Spanish or English into Portuguese or Spanish, that is why you're hearing that. I'm really, really excited to have our lead instructor from the course and a great Steadicam operator in his own right, Mr. Jerry Holway, with us. Now we have to pay them, right?
Yes, exactly.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. This has been fun.
It has, right?
This has been fun. They're usually fun. We had a lot of rain.
We had a lot of rain.
So we were kind of restricted in where we went and some other things. But, you know, in some ways that defines the workshop. And
That's
it was
great.
really cool.
So how many workshops do you think you've led?
200.
Oh my gosh,
something.
seriously? When did you start teaching?
I started being a lead instructor in 1990.
Oh, wow.
Some old-time dealers in Scandinavia hadn't had anybody there in years and years and years, and they said, you know, Garrett, can you come over? And Garrett goes, I don't want to go there. Jerry, you go. and I had been helping Garrett teach.
Yeah.
And then I go over, I don't know anybody. And I get there, and it's in a bowling alley in a resort. I mean, that was part of it.
Okay.
And so I get the bowling ball because I want to explain that a camera spins like a bowling ball. We usually say that, but I had a bowling ball.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm doing this, and I'm starting my talk, and everyone's very, you know, proper and everything, and they're all sitting in chairs and stuff. And a guy's phone rings.
Yeah.
And I just I'm stunned. Like, what? And he,
Oh, he starts talking.
yeah. And no one says anything. And I'm like, geez, this is going to be weird. Then he hangs up his phone. And I go and I start with a bowling ball and how it's like a camera and easy to turn. And I get maybe 5 minutes in and the phone rings. Same guy. Answers the phone. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like completely freaked out by this. And this goes on like all through the course, and I'm just astonished. But by day 2, the guys and I have been drinking a lot. You know, the helpers.
As
I'm
happens
making
at
friends.
And
They say, well, this guy's a producer, and by the way, on day 2, we're the ones calling him, and we are pretending to be producers from Italy, and we have this giant concert, and can he rent all this gear? And because it was analog.
Yeah.
And they hang up, and then they call his office, and they say, what is wrong? You know, with a fake Italian accents. What's wrong? We're trying to get through to him. And then the office calls him, and they go, and this goes on all week, including during his test.
Oh my gosh.
And then it went on for 3 weeks after the
Just for
workshop.
anybody who's listening, at the end of the week, there's always a shot that's like the test that we sort of joke that if you fail, you don't
Yeah.
become a Steadicam operator. But of course, that's not true. So go ahead.
Oh, okay. The people out there,
Yeah.
not these guys.
These
Just
guys,
did the
no,
test,
they just did the test.
and they
Yeah.
all failed. And so what?
They're all going to come back next week.
Yeah. But and this thing went on for another 3 weeks before they said, first they said with the Italian, they said, "Oh, sorry, cancel workshop." And the guy had rented gear all over Europe to make this
Wow.
thing happen.
Jeez.
And then 5 years later, they told him about it. So
crazy.
anyway, that was my first being the lead
Yeah, yeah,
instructor
yeah.
in 1990.
Trial
And then
by
I
fire.
did tons of them over there.
Yeah.
Used to help Garrett a lot. And then Garrett and I would like shift off being lead instructor and improving it all
Yeah.
the time. And eventually Garrett just didn't want to be lead instructor. He just wanted to come in, do his big thing,
Do we
and go
spiel?
away.
Yep.
And
You took
he
off.
still comes over. I mean, he still does great stuff with us. But
So let me back up. How'd you get into film? What's your story?
I went to college to be a marine biologist, and that seemed kind of stupid after about a week.
Where'd you go to college?
Cornell University.
Okay.
With Larry McConkey.
Larry McConkey, one of the biggest
Long-
Steadicam operators in the world, who
Yeah.
wasn't a Steadicam operator.
No,
What was Larry?
there was no Steadicam then.
Larry was studying something really smart.
He did fencing. He was a concert pianist, and he also was in the film program with me.
Of course he was.
It was a stupid film program, but we did a few things.
Okay.
And I have one memory of Larry. We weren't close. We were in the exact same class, but early on in editing some stuff, Larry came over and showed me, "What do you think of this edit?" And it was like putting down something
On a table. Or
on a table,
Something
like,
simple.
yeah, like a coffee cup on a
Yeah.
table. And I went, and I remember this, and this is really all I remember. Is like, "Larry, you got to cut out a few frames. It's like hanging up." And that's all I remember of Larry McConkey in college, pretty much.
And that changed the trajectory of his career. 'Cause
Yeah,
he said,
totally,
I'm not
totally.
going to be an editor. I'm going to
No,
find
it
something.
sucks, you know.
But you went for marine biology, but then
Yeah, within a few weeks, I tried some other things, and then a friend of mine who was in a year ahead of me, but had seen me in high school, said, "Look, there's this film program. This is you. You should do this."
so what year is this?
This is 1969.
So you're shooting 16 millimeter?
Yeah, totally
Okay.
16 millimeter.
Editing on a flatbed Steenbeck? Whole
Oh,
thing?
not even that
Not even-
fancy.
Moviola?
No, no,
No,
Moviola, yes,
Yeah,
a Moviola.
Moviola, the upright thing. And
Yeah.
with the bins where you used to hang
Yeah,
all
the
that-
bins and the, yeah.
It was a different time.
Totally.
So what were you thinking of? Is it be a director? What do we,
I was a camera person, and I really like documentary cameras and that's what I was interested in. I was not interested in Hollywood at all.
wow. And back
Partly
then
because ignorance. And my ignorance was, I thought, if all the stuff that came out of Hollywood came from like one mindset.
Oh.
And I thought, there's lots of other stories all across this country, and they aren't being celebrated. There are lots of other points of view.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to work in small markets and do documentaries and, sort of celebrate the breadth of things,
Yeah.
and not just this sort of one monolithic thing. And it was much more monolithic then, I think, than now.
Well, but also like New York was sort of documentary, and the West Coast was more
Yeah, where the movies
feature,
were
right?
made.
Back
Yeah,
then, anyway.
Well, not even New York. I mean, just East Coast.
East Coast in
Yeah,
general.
Yeah.
So you're in the middle of that. So did you make any documentaries while you were in school?
Yeah, I made documentaries. In fact, in my junior year, my summer, I was going to do some summer job that paid money, and someone said, "Well, can you do this little documentary film about a theater group?" And we don't have any money. And I said, "Yeah,
And the problem is?
yeah." And we cut this little thing, shot it on 16.
Oh,
Cut
that's
it.
cool.
No,
Does it still exist? You have a video of it?
No, it was all 16 mil
much is
film.
lost.
Some were gone.
Such
Yeah.
is life. So you went to school. When did you probably jumping ahead, but when did you sort of see a Steadicam and go?
Okay, so here's the
that
deal
work?
with Steadicam. I had been in documentaries. I'd been an editor on a Steenbeck, making lots of money, and then suddenly the market entirely dried up.
Well,
where
so you're
I was.
you're a professional editor.
Yeah, at that point.
Okay, good.
And
Yeah.
I had been to graduate school by then, and a whole bunch of other things.
Okay.
Anyway, I was making tons of money doing political commercials. And then it dried up, and I was in Washington, D.C., and there was no work. And a friend of mine called and said, do you want to go teach for a year at Penn State? And I went,
Oh.
well, at least it's an income. I'm really frustrated. And
What
I
year
went,
is this?
Oh, Jesus.
80s?
Yeah, sometime in the
Early
80s.
80s? All right, yep.
Probably 1979, 80, somewhere
yeah,
in there.
yeah.
So I went, and I had three other professors, and they had projects to do, and I did documentaries with them. I went to Honduras and shot this thing about excavating and the Mayans and.
But you were a professor?
I was a professor.
Okay.
And stuff like that.
That's great.
And then after working for all of them, I said, well, I want to make my own personal movie. And the movie was really strange because part of it, again, it was like one of these conceptual things.
Yeah.
And this part of it was that you don't know what really goes on in Washington, D.C. You have all the stuff that you hear about, the senators and the president, all that crap. But there's a real town there. And I said, I don't want my conceptions to affect this, so I'm going to throw darts at a map of Washington. And wherever the dart hits the map, I'm going to go film.
And just find the story, sort of.
And whatever happens, happens.
Okay.
And we used short ends, so I didn't know how long I had. But I needed a look, and I didn't want it to be handheld. And I found out that there was a Steadicam I had access to at this university.
At the school. What school was it?
Penn State.
Penn State, okay.
So the TV station had one of these things, didn't know what to do with it. And nobody knew hadn't been trained.
You mean like the college, the school TV station there?
Yeah, it was like
a local station.
PBS.
PBS.
It was a
It was
local
public
PBS.
broadcasting. Okay.
Yeah. And the head of it said, you can use our gear. And I was, okay. And then someone told me, oh, you can take a Steadicam course. And I went, okay. And I went up to Maine and did this course and then worked for like 200 hours. Like 8 hours a day, because that's when I could access the thing for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I shot this part of this movie.
Using the Steadicam.
Using the Steadicam, 60 millimeter film, an old CP16.
Wow.
And that actually was pretty cool.
Because you'd put in those 200 hours. You mean.
Exactly.
And so you took it was a Rockport, the Rockport.
Yeah, the Rockport
workshop.
one, yeah.
So who were the instructors? Because this is what, 1984,
1982.
82. So what there?
Ted Churchill,
50
his brother Jack,
Amazing.
Steve St. John,
Amazing.
Garrett.
These are like legends for anybody who doesn't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they were
They
there.
were the lead
And
instructors.
what we did was so strange compared to what we do now. We barely did any shots. We did a bunch of exercises. Like we had 32 people, 8 groups, and they were all in the same room doing the same line dance.
Just zoom, 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 back and forth.
And doing a switch. And then you'd move to the next camera. And all the cameras were heavy. And we hadn't figured out yet that you could balance the Steadicam on a stand. So you had to learn how to balance
While you were wearing it?
wearing it.
What, was there not a dock to balance on yet, or nobody had thought of it?
No one had thought of it. Garrett had a dock on The Shining
That's
where he
so
put
great.
things, but
Yeah.
we didn't. Nobody knew how to balance it on a stand.
I love that because it's something that now is so stupid simple, of course.
Right.
I mean, it's so Garrett and everybody else was making it up as they went along because that was the thing. One of the favorite things that Garrett said to me when I interviewed him for Tiffin was, I've been the only Steadicam operator in the world, and it's very lonely.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the fact that like you had to figure everything out, and then there was someone else, and it's like, oh, let's figure it out together. And then so you were just figuring it out. That's amazing. So do you remember when you were putting it on? Well, first of all, this is a Model 1?
It happened to be a Model 2.
Okay, so it must have
and
just come out.
some people at the TV station put it on me
Yeah.
before I went to the workshop.
Okay.
And I realized that this was for me. I mean, instantly I knew this is what I wanted to do. This is the way I could move a camera. And if I could just take out the bounce. Because I'd walk down a corridor and there were, brick walls or cinder block walls. And I could really see that I was bouncing up and down. I said, if I can just get rid of that, I can be a Steadicam operator.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a lot more to it than
Of
that.
course there is, absolutely.
Which I learned the
Yeah,
hard way.
yeah.
But the 5-day course was so, there wasn't so much to do that on Thursday we all had to take off and go play frisbee for the whole afternoon because there just wasn't enough to teach.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because they had said, well, let's do a 5-day course, and they realized halfway.
Yeah, all the courses up in Maine were 5 days.
5 days, but they just didn't have enough.
They didn't know how to fill it.
And were Jack and Ted established operators at that point? Like,
They
did you
were.
know
Yeah,
who
they
were?
they kind of knew. Everybody was kind of winging it.
Okay.
But yeah, they were established.
Now, but you told me the other day, and I just have to ask you. You told me that you and Jack and Ted knew each other from before, sort of.
Yeah, I more knew them. They were
Yeah.
like the head and most famous campers at this camp up in Maine called
camp?
Chewonki.
love
And
I
it was,
love the fact that you and Jack and Ted went to camp together.
and my older brother was up. I was younger, and my older brother was up against Jack Churchill for best camper. And I liked reminding Ted of this when I first met him, that my brother beat Jack. And so my brother became the head camper.
Did he hold that against you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So Jack, if you're listening, I hope
Yeah.
this doesn't upset you,
Yeah.
but it's still out there.
Yeah.
So you left the workshop, and then basically, so you went back to the TV station and just put it on and every day.
And I put it on for every day
Figure
for
it out.
5 weeks, and then I shot my movie.
Okay.
And then I put it down for a year
Oh.
because I had to cut my movie
Oh.
and do it. And then a friend of mine at another part of the university said, "Hey, we need to make this little agricultural film for outreach."
Yeah.
And he said, "Would you like to do it?" And the idea was that there was this magic box that the camera would dive into, or the people would dive into, and then they'd come out and they could be anywhere in Pennsylvania.
Like a
They
transport.
could be in a
Okay.
field, they could be in a
Yeah.
greenhouse, whatever. And this thing flew, and all we did was fly around as if it were literally, on wings.
Okay.
And then you'd bank and turn. Like
Wait,
you
I
would
don't
in a-
understand. So you're saying this is within the movie, or
This
was an actual-
is like they'd have something and they'd say, "Oh, let's go look at, let's say, a greenhouse."
Yeah.
And you'd dive into this box,
Yeah.
and then we'd cut and we'd come out
gotcha.
flying in the
So
greenhouse.
Were you doing the flying?
I was doing all the flying and
that's
moving
fun.
the Steadicam as if it were a little airplane through things.
That's great.
And then settling down enough
Yeah.
so that people could really see and watch, and then speeding up and doing a bank turn and all this
Oh,
stuff.
that's cool.
And then after that, I did another movie for this guy. And then after that, about that time, we went to Honduras to shoot this documentary. I went to LA to shoot a movie about cultural stuff in Hollywood.
All with Steadicam.
All with Steadicam.
And all
That's my-
documentaries.
And all documentaries.
Gotcha.
And then at that point, I really wanted to do Steadicam. I didn't want to do this. And I took off from the university. I got a leave of absence, and I went to Australia to shoot a film for a friend of
wow.
mine.
Yeah.
And it was the worst film ever. Never got finished. It was just terrible.
Okay.
Basically,
that was the first dramatic thing you'd done, really?
no, not really. But anyway,
Yeah. Okay.
that was a big thing. When I came back from that, the first thing Garrett said to me was, "We don't know how to balance the Steadicam." And I went, "Yeah, it's because that damn monitor is raised up."
Yeah.
And I said, "We got to figure out how to actually balance the Steadicam for dynamic balance and stuff like that."
Sorry, meaning he said this to you, meaning we've been doing it wrong. There's got
Yes.
to be a better way to do it. Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, we've been doing it wrong, and this is why,"
Okay.
which he also knew.
Yeah.
It wasn't news to him.
Okay.
And then, so that got figured out. But at the same time, I had like another 6 months or something at the university, and they were going to give me tenure. It was more of a political thing that they were going to give me tenure. And I just went, that sounds like death.
Sounds like I'm never getting
I
out
will
of
be
this.
I will be stuck.
Yeah.
And I love this thing. And if I don't get out of here now and try
Yeah.
and see if I can make it. And I had no connections with the industry, and I had no way of
You also
really
didn't have a
affording it.
Steadicam, right?
No, I didn't have a Steadicam. I couldn't really afford it.
How do you have any recollection of how much a Steadicam cost back then?
My used one cost the bare thing cost 16,000.
Which is like 50,000 or who knows what
Yeah, what
today's
it is.
value.
Today's
But
four
what was a new one like?
66.
Oh my gosh! So it was like probably over $100,000.
Yeah.
And could you just call Cinema Products up and say, "I want one," and they were sitting there, or there was like it took a while? I mean, was it easy to get if you had the money?
Yeah, it was.
Oh.
My used one actually was sold to me by a guy from Cinema Products, and then it was a Model 2, and then I quickly modified it. I had to, solder and do something to make it mine.
That's all you did with the
And,
old rigs, was solder.
And then they called me up and they said, "Oh, we shouldn't have sold that to you." And I said, "What?" And they said, "Yeah, you can keep the arm and the vest, but they want the sled back." And I go, and I went to Garrett, like,
Yeah, what's up?
"Help me!
Yeah,
What is this?" And Garrett made them give me the prototype of the Model 3
And
with a brand new gimbal.
Did you ever find out why they wanted it back?
Yeah, no, I don't know why the people wanted it.
But
back.
they gave you like the next generation.
They gave me a
as
prototype.
thank
It
you.
was kind of like
Wow.
half the old generation,
Yeah,
half the new
yeah.
generation.
A
But it
Franken
was
rig.
a Model 3 with a really good gimbal and
That's cool.
the basic thing.
That's amazing.
Wired by Terry West
Oh my gosh! Wow. Yeah.
on one of his, how do we say this? More.
You can say whatever you want.
He was in a happy mood
He was
with
in a
this,
good
with this
mood.
marijuana stuff. And I had electrical issues.
Oh, I see.
And I had to tear it apart, and there was this glob of solder with I don't know how many wires in it. It was to the ground, and I finally said, "What does this wire do?" And
Yeah.
I unsoldered it from one end and dragged it all around the electronics in the sled and up and down and through, and then found the other end of it, which was soldered to the exact same glob of solder.
Yep. This is, by the way, this for everybody in the room who just so you can conceptualize this. You've been flying these beautiful brand new rigs that from I think all of them for Tiffin here and you probably can't think about this, but back when you were a Steadicam operator in the early days, you had to know how to take your Steadicam apart and find the wires that had broken because it happened all the time. And you would show up on set, and I'm sure you did this. You would put your cases out, and the first thing you did was you would plug in the soldering iron and let it heat up because you knew you were going to need it. And I had a Model 1, and the Model 1 was, I think was like the Model 2, had two switches.
Yes. Yeah, same
and
thing.
remember that first one would turn power onto the whole rig, but it wouldn't turn the monitor on. And I think you had to let the monitor heat up, the tube
Exactly.
heat
It
up.
was a tube, and
Yeah.
it had to heat up because if you hit it right away,
Yeah, you couldn't. So you turn the first one on, and I remember there was like a
yeah, it sang. It sang to you.
It was not good. Boom operators didn't like it. And then you'd turn the second one on. You'd like slowly close your eyes and turn it on and hopefully it would go ching and open, and the green monitor would come on. And sometimes it wouldn't. So you'd turn it off and go whack whack on the bottom, and then
Yeah.
you'd turn it back on. And if not, you'd take it and solder. But we all did that. And with these new rigs, to think that we had to do it's unbelievable to me. Yeah. It's
No,
incredible.
it's in some ways, I mean, the real problems are exactly the same.
Yeah.
The storytelling, but the
Exactly.
equipment, I mean, the whole evolution of the equipment, whether it's stuff that, we did
Yeah.
or stuff that other manufacturers did, the whole thing was just to make it more bulletproof and easier to
You
get
didn't have
what
to
you
put the
want.
soldering iron on,
Yeah,
basically.
it's like,
Yeah. So at one point, you and Garrett came up with a pretty cool invention called Skyman, right?
Yeah, what happened was Garrett had in 1984 come up with Skycam, the thing that is now on all the
Football, right? It's just
soccer, everything. Yeah,
four ropes, well, not ropes, but
Yeah.
cables, and it can move anywhere immediately.
yeah.
And all that stuff.
And the trouble was they were overextended and they didn't have enough money, and they didn't have enough money to make enough of them to satisfy the clients.
Yeah.
And the NFL didn't want them at first because
Yeah.
they didn't know what to do. And so basically it went broke, and they sold it to some company in Japan who didn't know what to do with it
Yeah.
either. So there was no way of having a stabilized, safe camera
Flying camera, right?
near people.
Yeah.
And Spielberg was about to make this movie called Hook. And we had another more simple flying camera called Camera Espanol for some reason. and it would just go down a wire. And
On its own.
on its own.
Yeah.
And you just let it go, and it was stabilized, and it had a camera that wouldn't pan or anything. And I got really good at it. I did some amazing work in South Africa at a steel refinery, flying over hot steel.
Oh,
and
cool.
all this. I mean, and through pipes, and but Spielberg wanted this, and Garrett and I had seen the Jimmy Muro thing from Mighty Quinn.
Mighty Quinn, where Jimmy stepped onto this makeshift platform and
Right,
went down
and
a
went
cable
down.
and
We
stepped
said,
off.
well,
Amazing.
that's great, but we need something that's more controlled.
Yeah.
And Garrett, we were sitting at lunch, and literally Garrett drew this thing out on a napkin, and I went, okay, let me see if I can do it. And I made this contraption out of wood. About in 4 hours, I called him on the phone, and I said, I'm sitting on something that's going to work.
Really?
Yeah, not what we finally did.
Sure.
And we realized that what I had made, yeah, it worked and it flew and it was all going to be good, but it didn't spin around and it wasn't ergonomic and we didn't have the brakes yet. But we knew that the basic idea would work.
Yeah.
If you could string a cable, you could go freely, or you could be dragged up, or you could be pulled back and forth.
And you're
or
sitting on this with the Steadicam, right?
sitting on it with a Steadicam.
Yeah.
And so if you could rig a cable, you had a stabilized object that could go very near people that was relatively quiet.
Yep.
And we did that. Now Spielberg, we showed him, but he wasn't interested, and they kind of whoever was on it ripped us off.
Jeez. All right. Well.
But anyway,
okay,
eventually we got some very minor ASC award for it.
Okay.
Not
But didn't you get an Academy Award for that? A technical?
It was a
Academy
technical award, but it wasn't the top. It was the least one. It was a little sheet of paper.
Well, it's one more piece
still-
of paper than I have for inventions that I've made. So
Okay.
congratulations and well deserved.
All right, yeah. But anyway,
You did an amazing shot. I think you did it on American Meat, didn't you? With was that you?
Yes.
The Edward James Olmos movie.
yes.
That crazy long shot that
Yeah, there was a 1,100-foot shot
unbelievable.
that the cable is not tight, it's slack, so it goes, you go down and you go up, and they found this location where the kids run down a hill at full speed, and they get to the bottom of the hill, and then they run up a hill,
Yeah.
and I was just in front of them, and they ran into my lens at full speed, and I beat them a little bit at the end, and at the very end the grips had to keep pulling me.
They just pull you up the hill.
And the really cool thing, if you look at that shot, is that I have the record for the most Musco lights in frame.
Muscle is huge.
It was at
huge.
night.
12
Yeah. I had 9 of them in my frame, plus an entire, I don't know, 10Ks or something, and a big silk that's
Fantastic.
in frame in
in
the
the movie.
movie.
I'm gonna post the shot on the page
Yeah,
for the
I have a record for that.
That's great. Did you get an Academy Award for that or not?
No, I just get my own personal award.
So you know what's funny is that you tell me about Garrett and you sitting with a napkin, and my first thought is, how many inventions wouldn't exist if nobody had invented the napkin?
That's
And secondly, my question is this: so you were really in the trenches in the heyday of Steadicam, when it was like, how do we make this cooler, and how do we learn how to do this, and how do we? What drawings on napkins didn't make it or didn't get made? What ideas did you guys have that were too crazy or too whatever? Were there?
no.
Really? You went forward with everything?
Yeah, we tried
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
Okay, here's one that we went forward with and worked really well, and it's a little hard to describe just audio-wise. But imagine in the old days when people died or they were kings, they were carried by other human beings. Okay? So if you take a platform and you have some pipes underneath it, and you have 8 willing people,
Usually the grips.
the grips, but
Not
laughing
necessar-
Steadicam operators are better.
Yeah. Not necessarily always willing, by the way.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
You can step onto this platform and you have something that you lean against and hang on to so you don't fall down. And you can be lifted up in the air. I mean, they can bench press you. Each guy has only got 20, 30 pounds
Yeah.
at most. And they can run over rough ground.
Yeah.
And where's your lens?
8,
12
12, whatever.
12 feet
Yeah.
in the air, completely stabilized.
Yep.
And we tried this out at a master's get together
Yep.
in 1988.
Workshop. Yeah.
And I know it's been used in a movie once by Bob Euland
Really?
on
Very
Parent
popular.
Trap or something, where
Okay.
he had to get off of a low deck
Uh-huh.
and get down to the ground, but there was nothing there. And then people had to come down. The actors had to come down the
Stairs.
normal way
Okay.
and go into the yard.
Yeah.
And so he had him on a platform, and it wasn't like running around or anything, but it was the basic concept.
So they could drop them down. Yeah.
And I've used it on a couple of films, but I used it with something else that we tried, which was to strap a small stepladder onto it. So you can get onto this platform, and then you can climb up the stepladder one-handed, and you can get a much higher lens height.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as part of this workshop that we had with all these Steadicam operators, we made a really big platform, and we put a 12-step ladder on it.
This is, by the way, everybody knows when you get a lot of accomplished Steadicam operators together, generally something like
Really
crazy
dumb
comes out
happens.
of it.
Yes. And so we strapped this 12-step ladder onto this platform that 8 guys were going to lift. And there was one idiot named Garrett who went up to the top, and they bench pressed, and he tried to shake himself off.
Yeah.
And the guys down below couldn't feel it. They literally couldn't feel it.
Really? Wow.
And so there was this other idiot named Jerry who did a shot where he walked along the ground, stepped on this thing, climbed up the 12-step ladder, and the guys bench pressed me and ran across
Wow.
rough ground.
Wow.
So the stabilized lens is, what, 20 feet in the air?
Yeah.
25 feet in the air?
Unbelievable.
It's just insane. And the cool thing, for low budget stuff,
Like a crane.
is the last few feet of a crane.
Mm-hmm.
When you're going by the gutter, going from the second floor window down to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That's the cool stuff, and this thing works for that
Yeah.
really, really well.
Yeah. Do you remember early on when there was a smaller number of Steadicam operators, did you all constantly trade, this is what I do? Because you couldn't look at stuff on the internet, or you couldn't email
It was
stuff.
really hard.
Were you sending video cassettes to each other? Or what?
No, largely, I think what happened, at least for me, was we go to workshops, and
trade
everyone would
stories?
come to help, and there'd be a lot of extra help.
Yeah.
Especially when we started doing workshops in Philly,
Yeah.
where it was convenient from everyone from New York to come down, and then people would share stories. They mostly shared with Garrett,
Sure.
and then Garrett would share with us.
Parse it out to everybody else. Yeah.
And then at some point, Garrett and I decided that we had to find a way to disseminate this information, and we did the Steadicam letter
Yeah.
for several years.
Oh, I remember
Which
that.
was really-
It's like a newsletter. That
It was a
went out.
newsletter,
Yeah.
excuse me, that was supposed to be quarterly, but no one would contribute. No one felt up to contributing.
Yeah.
So
I remember that vaguely. So one of the things I want to ask you about is, so Garrett invents this thing, and there's a small group of people who know how to do it, and it's sought after, and people like Steven Spielberg want it, and the big
Yeah.
movies want it. And so suddenly these people who really, for all intents and purposes, for other reasons, aren't on that level, they're suddenly getting asked to jump to these big levels. And was there a concerted effort and decision to go, we're not just going to keep this information to ourselves, but we're gonna put it out to other people and try to create other operators?
Yeah.
Because it sort of doesn't make sense sometimes on some level from an economic point of view of people wanting to go, I'm going to hold everything to myself.
yeah, no, there were a lot of early operators who said, don't teach anybody else.
Yeah. Don't give it away.
Don't give it away. And it was like insane. Well, Garrett realized he had to share it so that people would, on the crudest level, he had to share it so people would buy the gear so he would earn his,
That's true.
you know.
He had to make his investment back.
Yeah, but he also, if we didn't share, if we just sold them and let people suffer, you wouldn't have good Steadicam work, and the demand wouldn't go up.
Mm-hmm.
And very, very quickly realized you've got to teach. I think in 1980 he said he's got to not just teach in his house,
Yeah.
but he has to teach like 20, 30 people at a time.
So
just not
because it used to
efficient.
be like one or two people come over to the house and
Yeah,
they'll teach you.
just one, and you just had to not hurt the parquet floor, you
Yeah.
know.
And
bump into things.
can you share the stories about how people used to sign the gouges in the wall or
Yeah, I think they had to initial
Yeah.
their gouge.
yeah, when there was I guess, yeah, in the townhouse there's a, what is it, like a half stair that goes up, and
Yeah.
when the arm came around, if you gouged out the wall you had to sign where you gouged out the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to think that that's still there, but it probably isn't.
No.
But that's a really, to me, it's always amazing because it's a really enlightened thing to understand that we're stronger with more brains on this,
Right.
and just one or two.
And good Steadicam creates the demand. I mean, that's
Yeah.
and the other thing about Garrett is he's always inventing things that he wants.
That's true.
So he didn't want to invent something that sucked,
Yeah.
or that if people used it, it would suck. I mean, he was interested in the smooth camera work,
Yeah.
something that replicated in some mental way how we saw the world. Not exactly how we saw the world, but the impression of this is how we see the world.
When you got that prototype Model 3, were you suddenly the guy who was like, all right, we need all your feedback from all the jobs and what's working and what's not working? Was there an immediate, like, let us know how we can make this better all the time?
No,
No, really? They just left you.
no. It was. I would go to Garrett, and we'd collaborate on some things. And the first thing was the balance, because there was this nonsense in the beginning with the Model 3 that if you angled the battery at the same angle as the monitor, it would
stay. I remember that.
You know, it was complete bullshit.
Yeah.
And I hated that. I hated the bullshit. I wanted. To me, there's no magic.
Mm-hmm.
It's magical when you put it all together with a human being in a way,
Yeah.
but the physics is not magic.
It's physics.
Yeah,
That's exactly
and
right.
So we tried to invent things that that worked. And one of the first things that didn't work is Garrett wanted to have a way of knowing what level was.
Yeah.
Okay, just a bubble
Yeah.
that made sense. And then the future would be maybe that bubble would drive the Steadicam in some way and make it
Oh, interesting.
stable.
It would slave it.
And he had spent like $8,000 on this thing, and the bubble worked for a while, but then if you tilted up and panned,
Got all whacked.
it was worse than you know.
But you're talking about a bubble, like an analog bubble.
Yeah,
That's
like
a
an
digital
analog
thing.
bubble.
Yeah.
And there was an electronic version of an analog bubble in the Model 3 that was unwatchable. It'd be like, take a glass of water and shake it back and forth, or go on a rough cart ride with some coffee, and it all spills out.
I
It's
remember
not
it
level.
was like that old game Pong. If you turned it up really fast, it was banging back and forth. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was useless.
Yeah.
And so the first thing I quote unquote invented was an electronic circuit that slowed the bubble down first, and then ignored any signal above 2 degrees. Mm-hmm. It just wouldn't display that.
Yeah.
And it really worked, and Garrett really liked it, and we went out to Cinema Products and showed it to the engineers, and the engineers were busy making the Master Series.
Which is the next big model.
Okay,
Yeah.
and in 5 minutes they said, well, we don't need your thing. I'm talking to the head engineer, the president of the company, Garrett and me in a room. And the head engineer said, we don't need it because we have put our little analog sensor in the center of the post, at the bottom of the center of the post, and so you're not seeing any acceleration. And I said, have you ever picked up a Steadicam before? And he goes, no. I said, do you have any idea how we walk around the room and pan? And it moves. And I got really angry, and I was going back and forth. And within 5 minutes, I was screaming at the head engineer and saying, you don't know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I leave, and Garrett's like, oh, Jesus, Jerry. And so a few months later, they come out with a Master Series. And my electronic circuit is in it. and Garrett says, guys, you got to do something for Jerry.
Yeah.
And so what they did is they gave me a huge discount. I still had to buy the damn thing, but they gave me a huge discount
least
and they
it's
financed it.
All right. Well, there you go. So they helped you out.
So for 0 interest.
So I want to talk about some specific movies. You did some unbelievable work on As Good as It Gets and with Jack Nicholson. That
Yeah.
was tell me about that movie. What's it like working with him?
He was great. The situation was I was there for the reshoots, which occurred a year earlier. I mean, a year later.
Okay.
Yeah, a year
So they
earlier.
ed it and they went,
We don't have it.
We
We
need
don't
to
have
edit
it. We don't. They didn't have the end, which they had shot twice in principal photography.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't have a bunch of others. They didn't have the iconic dog jumping over. They
Which
didn't.
is so great.
Yeah. And so I got called in to shoot on, 13 days of the reshoots.
Yeah.
And both Helen Hunt and Jack Nicholson were really pissed off about being there and being called
A
back.
year later to
Yeah,
figure out these
to
characters
go this
again.
and
Yeah.
to do the end all
Oh,
over again.
jeez. Yeah. For a third time.
And because it had to be cut in, we had two trucks with two Abbotts, and we were tethered.
Editing system.
Editing system, and even though we were shooting film, we were tethered our two all the time because we fed both trucks.
So they were
at once.
recording digitally as you were shooting. So
Yeah,
they
we were
could
off
cut
our stupid little
and see if
recorders.
it worked, basically.
and cut it in, and so we would shoot something.
Good Lord.
And when they finally said that's a good take, then we would sit back and we'd wait and see if it cut.
Which couldn't have been fast.
No, it wasn't particularly fast.
Oh my gosh, what a pain in the. But no wonder they were pissed off on top of
Yeah,
everything.
on top of it. But every time they came out of their trailers,
Yep.
they were on.
Yeah.
And they were absolutely professional, absolutely good. There was no grousing. There was nothing. As soon as they were called to work, they worked, and
That's
they were
amazing.
they were wonderful.
That's great.
And I'm kind of pleased. I shot almost all the iconic things, holding the little doggy and all that stuff.
Also, him
And
stepping over those cracks. With
Yeah,
the
all
hair,
that.
Right. That's your shot.
Yeah, and they had little greens for the dog. They had little green fences that the dog would jump over.
Oh, really?
from
So
the
they could
crack.
take it out?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I always wondered how they trained that dog to do it.
Yeah,
So the
they had
dog's
it-
actually just like, I
It's
gotta jump
jumping.
over this.
They had to
fence.
jump over these things. So that was fun.
That's fantastic.
But and I shot the end sequence.
Yeah.
So that was
Oh,
that was
cool.
kind of cool.
Yeah. What's it? I mean, did you go to the premiere of that?
No.
What's it like when you see something like that in a movie theater though, and you go, I mean, that was a great movie.
I get excited about it, and then it goes by, and sometimes I kind of forget that I even shot it. I mean, I've had movies where I go, yeah, I shot that. I think more on TV I'll do that.
Yeah.
When it's on TV, I'll go, that's my shot, that's my shot.
Can you watch the stuff that you've done? Does it bother you?
Boy, that's a really good question.
Well, for me, I just see everything I hate, and it drives me nuts. And so often I can't. I mean, I do watch it, but or can you get lost in the story and forget what you did?
I think the first time I watch it, I hate it.
Yeah.
And then maybe after a while, it's just, okay, the hell with it.
How
It's the
long
story.
did you? Because you're retired now, but how long did you operate? How many years? Ballpark.
I stopped about 10 years ago.
Okay, so 10 years ago, 10, so 30 years, 30,
Something like
years,
that,
something like
yeah.
that. Do you remember shots that you did where you were just like, I'm so happy with that? I mean, or is it always a struggle?
I don't think I've ever gone home thinking that I couldn't have done it better. I think a lot of times I go, okay, that'll do for the movie.
That they're happy.
They're
I can move
happy.
on.
That's enough time doing
Yeah.
this thing.
I don't want to do it again.
And I'd be pleased by things.
Yeah.
I'd be pleased that I survive. There was a shot that I did, a funny little movie with Liam Neeson and Meryl Streep. Before and After was the name of it. Jeez, I forgot. And I had to walk down a corridor it was a set, but I had to walk down a corridor, second floor, step on an unprotected crane
Always a good thing.
without any thing.
Sure.
And drop down halfway to a landing where they had a conversation with somebody else, and take them further down all the way to the ground, and then they get off the crane as they got off and go sideways and end up in some shot. And in order for them to drop me down and move the crane back, I couldn't even stand up straight. I had to duck my head or I'd be knocked off the crane. And Meryl Streep, watching me do this in the rehearsal, nearly threw up because it was so scary for her to watch me, just barely not knock my head off there. But getting through that, you go, that was good.
Yeah, right.
I
I
don't know what the shop is like.
I'm still alive, so that's a plus, right there.
It's a big plus.
It's amazing the stupid things that we do. Do you remember when you would get called for a big movie or any movie or whatever? Do you remember? Were you, even after you were established, were you nervous?
Always. Always, yeah. You never know what they really want out of you.
Did it change from like, I don't know how to be a Steadicam operator to I want to tell the story, or like, I mean, what's the nervousness?
Am I going to work with all these people? Is it going to, is my monitor going to turn on?
Is my monitor going to turn on
for a long time?
That's what I mean. After the equipment was worked out, but so even to the end of your career, was still nervous when you got a call?
No, I don't think so. But more nervous about who am I going to work with, and is it going to be fun, or is it going to be stupid? Or
but I think the reason I ask this because most of the people I talk to, I think, and myself included, the night before the first day, it's tough to sleep, right?
Yeah.
And I think younger operators think that's just them, and it's not. It's just human nature, I think, right?
Yeah.
Are people going to like me? Am I going to get along with them? Who's my dolly grip going to be? Et cetera, right?
Yeah. Just one story I didn't have time to really get nervous is that I get a call about noon, and they say, "Can you get on a plane? It's at 4:00. Can you get to the airport? Get on a plane." This is before all the 2001.
Yeah.
Can you get on a plane and fly to Albany, and we'll have a car meet you, and you can come to set on this movie. And it's Darius Kanji and Neil Jordan. We
talked about in Dreams, right?
In Dreams.
We talked about this. Yeah.
So I say, I want to, Darius Kanji. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, of course.
So I didn't really have time to get super nervous. So I managed to get my gear, get to the airport within 5 minutes to spare, get on the plane with all my gear, get to Albany where they flew me in, and the movie was in Massachusetts somewhere. Get all my gear, put it in the back of this car that happened. And we drive, and we get into Massachusetts, and I said, "Where are we going?" And the driver says to me, "I thought you knew." And I said, "Well, we better call production." And I said, "Where are you guys in Massachusetts?" And they said, "We're at such and such. You just take exit 2." And I went, "Turn off, turn off." So we turned off, and I got there, and I'm going, hi, and Darius Kanji, and I'm all like really super nervous.
Yeah.
And they said, "Well, we have this one shot with some children. And children have to be kicked off the set by a certain time." And I'm waiting, and I prepare everything, and I'm, watching what other things they're doing, and it's getting later and later and later, and now it's after midnight, and I'm thinking, I've come all this way, and I have nothing to show Darius about what I can do.
You haven't given a chance, right?
I've missed my shot, basically. And then they said, "Oh, well, the children are going to stay around." So I have this really dumb shot with the children, and I'm thinking, well, I'm just wandering around in a circle around a bunch of kids, and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, oh, Jesus. And I hang up my thing, and I'm sitting there. And Darius comes up to me and says, "We have this other shot, and Annette Bening is going to be coming out of the woods, and her child has been... I haven't read the script, so I have to tell me. Her child has been murdered or is kidnapped by this serial killer. And, what I need is a light on your camera. Can we do that?" And I went, "Yes." Yes.
Yeah.
And I had a little light that you could adjust the intensity on it with an iris controller. I'd rigged this up ahead of time.
We should mention to people this is long before LED lights, right?
Yeah.
This is probably a fairly hot light. With
very hot, and a cable, and it doesn't last very long. And he wanted me to put a reflector on the top. He didn't want that light shining, and I went, "Whatever you need." And so this is like 3 or 4 in the morning. And I finally got my shot. And I did this thing, and I did my usual, it's really smooth, or it's really erratic. And then Annette Bening gets sedated, and it gets really calm. And I settle the Steadicam down. And I'm thinking, well, at least I've shown him something.
I did something.
And I pleased him because I immediately said, yes, I can do what you want.
Bingo.
And I got called back for the rest of the show.
That's a great thing to think of, because a lot of times, I don't know how many times you've had this, but you just say, yeah, as long as it's safe. Safety is another issue, but yes. And then you turn around and you're like, how am I going to figure this out?
Right.
But that's just part of it, is like them. They don't want to hear, well, I don't know. Yes. And then even if you don't give them exactly what it is, you get close. It usually works.
And the amazing thing is I had thought about having this light for something else, maybe on another show.
There you go.
Somewhere. I didn't have it, and I was pissed off, and so okay, let's take this Prezi light and let's put a gear on it so I can run a focus motor to it and all that.
What about you? I mean, you've worked on some massive films with massive actors and small films with small actors. You have for operators who are beginning. You have any tips on working with actors? What to do, what not to do, how to act, how to
respect them.
What do you mean by that?
They are under a lot more pressure than you are. You're kind of visible on set, but you're not visible to the world. So when they flub up or their makeup's bad or whatever it is, and that gets in a movie, everyone sees them. Their reputation is gone. When you make a mistake on a shot, either you do another take and nobody ever sees it, or who cares?
But nobody's looking at you as
no one's looking at you. Nobody knows that's you unless they wait for the credits. So they're under a lot of pressure. So basically, you don't go, "Oh, I love your movies," and talk to them and all that kind of stuff. It's like, be respectful for what they are going through,
for the craft,
and be friendly. I'm pleased to meet you if they want to meet you, because some of them are very standoffish and whatever. Respect it. That's how they get through the day.
Yeah.
And some of them are very friendly, and you're friendly back, but you don't keep going after
push
them.
it past that.
You don't do that. So that's kind of how I deal with actors. I just try and watch. I mean, that's something you talk about all the time. Watch how people move, watch how people interact, watch how the rest of the crew is especially when you were day playing, you had to come in and fit in. You couldn't be always who you were on the last movie. You had to fit in. And so that was kind of be respectful, watch, and listen, really listen, and try and figure out what the hell they were talking about. Like, this director's words might mean something different than that director's words. And so you had to kind of suss out what they were. Either they were articulate and they really wanted something and that was very helpful, or they were inarticulate and they were mad at you and you had to somehow figure out what they wanted.
When Steadicam was first starting out and you would show up on set, were people sort of, before it became normal, were people kind of amazed at it? Were people impressed with what you were doing?
I mean, half the people knew and was like, oh, okay,
I'm over it.
Yeah, they're over it. Let's see how this idiot does it.
You're not as bad as last.
I mean, literally, like, are we going to go back on the dolly because this guy doesn't know how to, keep it level or, frame or do any of the
so
other
there
things.
was that, like, let's see. It was a constant testing.
Yeah.
As opposed to now, when you
much.
show up, they pretty much expect you to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And
we've all seen it, so everybody knows now. And back then, I mean, there were still a lot of people that, oh my goodness,
You've shared it in workshops, but I'm going to ask you to share it on here because it's so great. Can you tell the story about the shot on sudden death?
Which
the big rising shot.
Yeah, I'll add a detail.
Please,
okay, so
please. And I will put this crazy shot on the website so people can see it.
So I've been working with this director and doing a bunch of crazy things, and I had to do this shot that started on a hockey puck, basically, and rose up 200 feet, dead nuts, straight up, past the signboard, the scoreboard.
The thing in the middle of the hockey arena.
Right,
It's hanging
which
from the
said
ceiling.
sudden death on it. And get up through the roof, basically,
Yep.
an open roof, and show two guys fighting.
And
On
to
the
be clear
rooftop.
from anybody listening, this is a big sort of like Houston Astrodome type,
Yeah.
thing, but a hockey arena.
Yeah.
And I can't even.
It's 200 feet up. And I had this device called Skyman that usually traveled along a wire strung between two things. But this one, I figured I could make a pick point, come almost straight down, go through my little wheels, go almost straight up, and then through a whole series of pulleys down to the back of a Nissan Pathfinder.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Nissan Pathfinder went along a certain way, I went up at speed.
So
pretty much
so
one
the
to one.
Nissan Pathfinder is outside
Outside on a radio.
in the driveway on a radio or in the parking lot. And as it drives, you get pulled straight up in the air.
Yeah, and the idea was to
Steadicam
do-
is hard mounted. I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
hard mounted,
Yep.
yes. And there's about 3 feet at the end of this where if he doesn't stop within 3 feet, I'm in a lot of trouble.
Because
I go through all my pulleys and rigging and
Which is
everything.
bad.
And we had a secondary line for a while. We had a safety in case something happened.
Okay.
And we realized that was the most dangerous thing
why?
because it would get fouled up in the original
Oh,
line.
I
There was
see,
no
yeah.
way to really get it out of the way. So anyway, and my rigger literally held the wire as we went up and down to make sure that it never got a kink. It never got some thing. He held it, so we knew that. And the Pathfinder didn't just stop for a few cones. We put a dump truck in front of it, so there's no way he could actually pull me through the top.
That's a very good point there. Yeah.
And then the sad thing is that when you accelerate like that, you're in a high-speed elevator, basically. And I mean, the grip was told, it was his truck, so he was told, accelerate as fast as you can, decelerate as fast as you can, put the brakes on. And when you first start, the rig weighs like 2-3 times what it normally weighs. So the arm is doing absolutely nothing. And then while you're halfway up and you've come to speed, the rig behaves like a normal rig. And then you're looking up, you're shooting down, looking at the hoppy rig, but you're looking up to see where
Where you're going.
you're going and when you have to tilt up,
Uh-huh.
and then you get level. So you tilt way up and then tilt level. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, the rig suddenly wants to fly, into the sky and jump off your arm. So suddenly your arm hand is like pushing down as hard as it possibly can to make this happen.
Was there ever a point in the middle of this where you thought this was just not a good idea?
No, and the reason I didn't think that is because I did it by the numbers.
Yeah.
First, I put a bunch of sandbags on the thing to see if it would fly straight
There we
up in
go.
the air.
Yep.
And then I put more sandbags and slowly built up speed. And then I sat on it without the Steadicam and built up speed. And I figured out what it was going to be. And then the AD came up to me after we'd done a couple of rehearsals. And he came up to me and he says, "You're putting me in meal penalties."
You're putting him in meal penalties.
You're-
Yeah. Because you came up with the shot.
Well, and they had goofed around for
Yeah,
a
of
long
course.
time.
That's what I'm joking. Yeah.
And I had a pretty big mouth at that time. And I looked at him and I said, "Are you helping me?" And he walked away.
Wow.
He went, ah. And we went ahead and put him in meal penalties. But, we got the
Yeah.
shot.
But I like the idea that you did it by the numbers because it's essentially a friend of mine says you did something unsafe, you did it safely.
Yeah.
and it worked out. And it's it's an incredible shot.
And the other thing is, for all the Skyman stuff, I never took hazard pay. I never considered it a stunt.
Interesting.
And there was a real political reason for doing that, because if it wasn't safe, I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't. It was either right
Yep.
or not.
So for anybody who doesn't know, within the union, there's something called hazard pay where you get something ridiculous like $60 or something
50,
like
$60
that. But
yeah.
the important thing is actually it puts life insurance on you so that if something happens, that comes up. And my friend John Lindley, a great cinematographer, I think we've talked about this, says you should never take hazard pay, because if you take hazard pay, you're admitting that something you're doing is dangerous and you shouldn't do dangerous things. You
Yes,
should do things
exactly.
safely.
Exactly.
And I mean, his other part is that and I don't disagree with this, we should probably have in this industry, we should probably have life insurance on us all the time because it's a crazy industry. But I do agree with that. Do you have a favorite shot that you've ever done? You have like one shot that you sort of is
No, I have a bunch of shots that
yeah.
I like, but I don't think there's a single favorite shot.
Yeah. Okay, when you look back at your career, are you amazed at what it became from that TV station?
Yeah, I mean, I had no connection to Hollywood, and when I got my Steadicam, I had to start paying it off and stuff like that. There weren't a lot of places to make money other than big features.
Yeah.
And high-end commercials. And so I knew I had to somehow get into that business. And I knew nobody other than Garrett, who for some strange reason, didn't really recommend me for things. And so it was very tough beginning of finding my way. But I was, as you said, I was friendly, I was nice, I listened, I tried to be competent.
People wanted you back.
People wanted me back.
Yeah.
And I got an awful lot of my jobs through assistants that I treated well and I respected.
By the way, that's for anybody listening who's starting, that's a great indicator that you're doing good work if the assistants are giving your name out and calling you back.
Yeah, I'd get calls all the time. I did a lot of day playing in New York, and it would be one assistant or another that did it. I think my favorite film was The Apostle, and
Directed by Robert Duvall?
Directed and acted in, and it was his personal film. It was a relatively small crew, and so we were very intimate. I'm thinking of a story, and I'm wondering, should I tell that?
You can tell it, I can cut it out.
But one of the things was we were close, and we had a big effect on what was going on.
Yeah.
And the A camera operator was also the DP. That was allowed.
That happens.
And he was a commercial guy. Okay. And so, instead of like landing a nice thing and doing it in a more normal filmmaking way, we'd be having like overs or something, and two people sitting down as we are. And he'd be like moving the camera around like those crazy commercials.
Because that was the style then.
It was the style. Yeah. And I'd be on the B camera looking over there, and I'm thinking, they have nothing to cut to from his camera. How can I shoot the scene from here? And it turned out that 70% of the movie went through one of my cameras, either when I was a B camera or a Steadicam, just because his stuff was generally unwatchable.
Because your sensibilities were more for drama than
his work.
Amazing.
And because of that, the editors loved me so much. They also gave me all the footage that I wanted.
Oh wow!
So I had all the takes.
Yeah.
In Beta SP.
Because back then it was very hard to get footage for your reel.
Before I even left the movie, they said,
"Amazing.
We're giving you copies of Beta SP," which was the highest resolution.
Yeah.
That's what they were.
That was a big
with.
deal. That was a big deal.
Which was really nice. Now here's the story. I'm not sure we should go.
Well, I can cut it out if you.
Yeah, we'll see. We're near the end of the movie, and we have a big scene in a church. This is a movie about a guy who was a preacher, and he killed the guy. We saw the scene in the class where he whacks the guy with a bat, and he goes. Yeah. Anyway, there's this big scene in a church, and half the people in the church, the extras in this little tiny church, I should say. Were there for the service. They didn't, they weren't there for the movie. They weren't extra for the movie. They actually wanted a service.
Okay.
And the scene involves this guy getting into the spirit, and literally accepting Jesus and all this stuff. And we weren't shooting this on Steadicam. We had 3 cameras. We brought in an extra on. We had 1,000-foot loads. They go 11 minutes. All right. And so the way Duvall works is it's as real as it can be. And he's going on. We staggered the starts for each of the cameras so that we wouldn't run out. And, after 11 minutes, the first camera runs out, and then the second camera runs out, and the third camera runs out, and we had we got to cut. And it's just at the height of
Everything's going.
this guy getting into the spirit, and they're really getting into
Yeah.
it. And Duvall starts to go off. And I grab Duvall by the lapels and I drag him out the front of the church away from everybody. And I say, it's nobody's fault. We ran out of film. It's wonderful what's going on in there. If you don't blow up, we can go back in, reload, and we'll get it.
Yeah.
All right. And the whole time he's right-handed, and I'm watching his right arm, because if he hauls backwards, I know he's going to swing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, this is like the next to last day of the film. And I said to myself, if I'm going to get fired, okay. But I did my best to save the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if he had blown up, the whole spirit
Would have gone.
would have gone.
Yeah. 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 And did he?
He calmed down, went back in. We got it. The movie got finished.
Did you ever discuss it after that?
No.
Amazing.
No.
But
And-
these things happen. I mean, the emotions get going and things happen.
Right. But the other cool thing about that movie, which was also very small, was one of the principal people was the wife of Johnny Cash. Jesus, I can't
Okay.
get that out. Well, one of the cool things was it was the wife of Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
And at some point, this is near the end of his life, Johnny Cash shows up.
Cool.
And a few of us, like 5 of us, go into a house to have dinner with Johnny Cash and his wife and
I
Robert
love
Duvall and everything. And the 3 of them play music.
Get out of here.
Get out of here. And like I'm 2 feet away from Johnny Cash and he sings this song.
These are the great things that happen nowhere.
Just came out. I mean, was just about to come out.
Unbelievable.
And I think it was the last song that he did.
Wow.
And so we're just in the presence of.
That is so cool.
And so
that's so great.
He played, and then he played with his wife, and then Duvall was playing.
Oh,
and it was
geez.
just
Amazing.
magic.
Amazing.
Magic.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing that was kind of a surprise to me. Someone asked me, like, what was the worst movie you ever worked on?
I should have asked you that. Okay.
And so I said, it's this movie called Heavyweights, and it was about these fat kid camp.
It was like a comedy for kids.
Yeah, it was kind of a comedy, and the guy was from Eastern Europe, maybe Bulgaria or somewhere, and he said, I grew up in a communist country, and this movie was for me about people overcoming the oppressive regime.
Amazing.
And it was the movie that motivated me to come to the United States, to get out of Bulgaria and to be free. And I'm just thinking, what? This is a movie about fart jokes and things like that. But you never know, what you're doing. So, if there's a lesson, it's, do your best all the time, because something out there for someone is going to make, a difference. And you just don't know what it is.
That's incredible. Well, that is a great story. I'm gonna thank you, because I know I am tired after a long day and you're tired after a long day, but this has been amazing. I want to leave, and our students are tired after a long day.
Yeah, they're exhausted. We're asleep.
I want to thank you all for listening here. I want to leave you with this final question that I leave everybody with, that you could take us out with. Someone getting into the film industry today, maybe you when you were starting, whatever you want to put it. What advice do you have on how to be successful in this business?
Be competent and be kind.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. We'll be back soon with another great episode. Don't forget to check us out on theop.io for all sorts of information on operating and storytelling. So thanks for listening and have a great day.